Okay, it's Sunday, April 21st. I have to look at my screen to figure this out. um, and yet again, you're wasting your precious sunshine time indoors with other nerds. um, I see we have a couple new folks today, and we've got Mark. I think you're from the Netherlands, right? Joining us. Um, and we don't really have an agenda. There's some stuff that we've been talking about on the groups.io list. So I figured we could jump right into it. I can catch up on some things that have been going on the Raspberry on the Pico side of the 2068 world. But if y'all have something you want to talk about, you just run right over me. um
Well, did you happen to notice the email from Carl about having the Tom Bent ROM code now?
yes. Well, he sent, yeah, you sent Carl a big pile of EPROMs and stuff, and Carl ripped them and read them, with his EPROM reader. And one of them is, like you said, the Tom Bent revised ROM for the 81/1000, which fixed a couple things. It's kind of documented in, was it doc where was it documented, Paul? Was it Sinclair News, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, you could have sort of rebuilt it yourself from Tom's articles in Sinclair News, but now we actually have the ROM. um, if I recall, one of the most notable things that it does is it doesn't do the RAM check anymore. So if you have a 16K RAM, it just, comes on like that. Of course, if you don't have a 16K RAM and try to program for 16K, it's not going to check. I don't know how big of a problem that is for most folks. Um, on the Pico front, um, Joe, who's not here today, maybe he'll be joining us in a little bit. Um, Joe Van Zandy sent me this really, oops, that's why it's not fitting together, is because I'm trying to put it together upside down. He sent me this 3D printed case for Pico. He printed it for the Pico video, and it has openings for the audio jack, the VGA port, and the optional USB port up here. And he printed it with this kind of silvery gray, um, I think it's called PLA, the string, right? Filament. And it snaps together really well. It's really cool inside. And let me just show you, see if I can do this backwards here. The little Pico video board that Jeff made fits right inside. Shoot. Okay. And then the whole thing just snaps together. It's got these little tabs on it, which you might not make out too well. But the whole thing just snaps together. Looks super awesome. There we go. It's got the grooves to make sure, match your 2068. Um, Ingo ran off a couple in black PLA, and they look really cool too. And I have a resin printer, and I'm going to try printing them with resin, which would be, Ingo tells me it will be even nicer than filament. So that'll be cool. And we're going to try to make an adjustment to this so it will fit either the Pico video or the TS Pico. So maybe in the not too distant future, uh, we'll have STL files. So if you have a 3D printer, you can do it yourself. Um, and depending upon how long it takes in my 3D printer, I might be able to run them off for folks as well. And then the other sort of news is that we have suckered Ryan into joining. We've suckered Ryan into joining the team. And so y'all have seen Ryan's programming prowess on the 2068 with his character editor and some other stuff. And so Ryan's got some really cool ideas, which I'm not going to spoil. I'll let Ryan actually develop the ideas before we spoil the news. Unless, of course, Ryan wants to jump in and just say, what he's got in mind. But yeah, so that's what I know is going on. If you're not on the groups.io list, somebody sent around a audio demo that was written expressly for the 2068. I haven't had a chance to play with it. Has anybody here checked it out yet? Shaking of heads? No? Okay, that's cool. That's cool. The other thing that Adam would have me do is point out that we've got a couple new folks. And so I'm going to call on the new folks. I'm going to start with Kurt. Hey, Kurt, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So Kurt, tell us, as we say, your origin story.
Well, I bought a ZX81 the day it came out, and I had one of those, several of those, the 1500, and then I got on the 2068. I pretty much learned everything I know. I've been a embedded and real-time software engineer for 40 years,
Oh, wow.
and that's where it started. So,
Okay.
and I just bought, I at some point when I got married and we started having kids, I got rid of all that stuff, which was stupid. And I just bought a 2068 off eBay and I'm getting back into it. So,
Oh, cool. So you heard the bad news about the Z80 then, right?
oh, the fact that they're end of lifing it.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's
Well, there'll be Z80s available till the end of time off of like AliExpress, etc. So,
exactly
yeah.
right. Yeah. I mean, I've seen the posts, right? There's a whole bunch of communities on Facebook that for folks that use Z80 based devices, and every last one of them has posted this thing, and I'm like, you people realize that this is just Little Fuse saying we're not making a profit off this anymore, and you're going to
Exactly.
have to go somewhere else, and like
Right.
Rochester Electronics will pick it up, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is you can make a cycle accurate Z80 in
In an FPGA.
a Raspberry Pi Pico or whatever, take your pick.
That's
So,
right. That's right. There is an emulator, a ZX81 emulator for the Pico.
yeah,
Yeah, I came across that somewhere.
yeah, because I wrote a basically a Spectrum emulator on a STM32 part.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And it can emulate a Z80 running at 15 megahertz.
Wow. That's crazy.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's easy to do.
Yeah, but everybody's up in arms.
Oh, I know.
Or Z80s.
Yeah.
They forget that there's an infinite supply of them out in the out in the ZX81s and 1000s that are in people's closets.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Mark just asked me if I had the US ZX81, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So you said you got it when it first came out. You got it from Sinclair. How did you find out that it was coming out?
I was a reader of like popular electronics,
Okay.
things like that. And I saw the first ad and I ordered it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I got the kit, so I
Yeah.
put it together, and yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, Mark's holding up the American. Is that the American 81, Mark? Let me just spotlight you real quick.
Yeah, it's got the 2-channel.
Oh yeah, it's got the FCC crap on it. I mean, markings.
Oh, maybe
Very
I
nice.
didn't have that one because I don't remember that switch.
Oh yeah, you know what? Didn't the early ones, weren't they channel 33? The UHF ones. Is that which one you had, Kurt?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, I remember that
Well,
vaguely.
the first ones sent out that were pre-made were just like that because I got it within a month after it. I ordered it soon after they advertised. So mine looks just like that.
With the 2-channel switch or the
Yep.
okay. Rich, hang
So
on,
I
hang
didn't
on a
order,
sec,
I
Rich.
ordered the I ordered the made one, not the kit.
Okay. Hold up your computer again, Rich. Well, maybe not. Let's see if you can. Rich is on a slow internet connection. So that's which model 81 is that? That's the channel 2, channel 3 model. Okay. Yeah. Maybe it was just the ZX80s that were UHF. I really don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I never had one of those.
So, did you upgrade your 81 when you got
Oh,
it?
I
I mean,
went, I did all sorts of stuff. I made a keyboard for it. I made a backplane. I wire wrapped a TMS 9918 graphics card I designed for it as my senior project in college.
now you're talking my language.
So yeah, I was seriously into it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Paul, who's here, Paul, did you just get like, were you involved in Sinkware News, or did they just give you the remainders of it?
I was a contributor
Okay.
and basically a contributor subscriber until the very end when Basil got out of it, and then that's when it all showed up at my door.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, so the reason I was going down this path, Kurt, there was a magazine called Sinkware News,
Mhm.
and John Oliger, who did hardware for the
I had all his
81.
cards.
I'm sorry.
I had all his cards.
You had all of John's cards, right? So he did a 9918 card for
Right,
the
yeah, graphics card, yeah.
yep. And Fred Knackbauer worked on the changes to the ROM so they would, talk to the 9918 instead of
Right,
yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
yeah. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, I was one of the first people that produced 64 column, code for the 2068.
Yeah.
And I actually licensed it to a guy who wrote a word processor. I can't remember what it's called. It's buried in the basement somewhere. But it
Oh,
was one of the early 64 column word processors.
interesting. Was it, do you
It
think it was
wasn't
M
it wasn't
script?
TAS word or something like that.
Oh,
It was
test word. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I made a whopping, I think, $180 in royalties.
So you put your kids through college with that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, Kurt, if you find stuff in the basement and you need help archiving it, you just give me a shout.
That's my next task because I've got about 600 cassette tapes I need to
Okay.
grab with audiology and convert to a usable format. Yeah.
Yep. I hear you.
So,
In real time.
Right.
I probably also have a bunch of floppy disks from the JLO drive that I need to try and recover.
Well, and I can help you there. Have you heard of a thing called a grease weasel?
I think I have, yeah.
Okay, so it's just a little, is it STM based? I think it might be. A little tiny circuit board. It's got a standard floppy connector, whatever that
Right.
standard was called back then. And USB on the other side, and there's some software for it. It's mostly command line, so like Linux or Mac is the easiest, and Windows is a little bit more of a challenge.
Right.
But on the Mac side and on the Windows side, there is a GUI front end client for it. Anyway, I think I got from Paul maybe a big pile of oligar discs, and I figured out the right incantation with Grease Weasel to read the data off of the disks. And then I wrote a Python script that parses through that and turns those into tap files. So when you get to that point, you let me know. I'll share my
Okay.
Python. I'll share my secret recipe and the Python script with you.
Thanks, sir.
And then you can enjoy the sound of as the
Exactly.
head seeks. Cool. Well, I'm glad you were able to join us, Kurt. That's awesome. Usually we're a pretty rowdy bunch.
And I got a box full of floppy drives.
Oh, do you?
I do.
You know what? You're gonna have to find somebody else for those, Paul. I think actually, Paul, everybody here today probably wants a floppy drive.
I'll have some left over.
Yes.
You'd be surprised, Dave, because I work in a secure military facility.
Oh, wow.
And we have a lot of equipment that still boots off of a 3.5-inch floppy drive.
Yeah, there was a story like on Hackaday or something within the past 2 weeks about some piece of equipment that's going to keep booting off of a 5.25-inch disc.
Yeah.
For a few more years at least.
Oh yeah, easily.
Wow.
I just talked to a guy that worked at the missile silos. They got rid of their 8-inch floppies a couple of years ago.
Oh man, that story's finally going to die. I mean, the story won't die, but the reality
they're
will.
really gone. I talked to him, but it wasn't that long ago.
Well, I hope at least they were double-sided.
That's like a meg worth of data on an 8-inch floppy. Those are nice high density. Well, not high density, but high capacity. Let's put it that way. Cool. Well, the other thing, Kurt, is we have, and I don't know if it was just coincidence of the time, but there's a lot of folks, at least 4 off the top of my head, 4 former military folks, like Tim Swenson. Tim, you were Air Force?
Yes. 8.5 years.
I'm trying to think who else did we have here that not today, but there's a couple other folks, so there's either
I was a contractor at the Air Force Base, and I do electronic warfare for L3 Harris now. So,
oh, that's crazy. That's great. And Kurt, do you remember Zebra Systems?
Oh yeah.
So if you go back in the time machine of our meetings and look for one of the earlier meetings with Stuart Neufeld, he's the person behind Zebra. We talked to him one about his ancient history, and he got his start designing, I don't remember, something for ballistic missiles. So yeah, there's a big bunch of big representation of military folks or former military folks in the Timex community. Oh, somebody worked in ranging from, oh yeah, worked on a base. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, back in the early 90s, that stuff wasn't that old, I cut my teeth on a university mainframe that was kind of the same way, especially with the washing machine, the top loaders with the, yeah, woof. So Kurt, in email you said that you were looking forward to when the software for the Pico is available, open source, and that's not too far off. It's in active development. Let's put it that way. Poor Ricardo is working overtime. Finding the bugs, doing what he can. He's doing good.
Right.
Cool. I'm glad you were able to join us. This is awesome. I love getting new people, or getting returnees That's my whole goal. Cool. Mark M. I'm going to call on you because I don't recognize who you might be. You there, Mark? Maybe not. Maybe Mark stepped away from his computer. Such things happen. Hey, Jeremiah, how you doing with your game?
I don't really have any progress to report right now, unfortunately. It's been a crazy couple of weeks and haven't really had as much time as I'd like for the Timex.
I hear you. I hear you. For those of us who didn't see it, when did you show that? Was that a Monday night meeting, I think? Or
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember whether it was a Monday or a Sunday meeting.
yeah. And you are modeling it. Adam knew what you were modeling it after. I'm not a
Yeah,
games person, so I couldn't remember. Couldn't even
the
remember.
it's kind of an homage to the original Dragon Quest games for the NES, the Nintendo,
Okay.
the Dragon Warrior.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and what you showed us looked really cool back then. You know who could probably help you? I'm volunteering Greg. Greg's written a video game or two.
Oh, okay.
Greg, you want to get back into writing video games, don't you?
Yeah, well, when I'm not doing military stuff, it's either practice killing for fun or practice killing for real. That's kind of what I do.
Well, I'm sure you might have some thoughts when Jeremiah's ready for any kind of assistance.
Okay.
Hey, Tim.
Yep.
Oh, look at you with your Scotch shirt on. How are tricks?
Skank and pickle.
Skank. See, I knew immediately based on the little
Two-tone, yep.
two-tone. Thank you. Yes. How are things in the Tim Swenson QL world?
Not doing much in the QL. The last thing I did though recently was the ZX81 assembly, basically crap game that I did.
Yeah.
Just as let's see if I can do this or not. So
And somebody contacted me about a document that you wrote.
yeah, I emailed him, but I haven't heard back from him though.
Okay. But well, he replied on Facebook and said, in essence, that I guess you said that it was something you'd written a long time ago and you'd moved on to something else.
Yeah, he was looking for the header files.
Oh, okay.
These with TASM or Pasmo. I still use them today. So I basically said, here's what they are. Modified for Pasmo. We can modify them back to TASM. But I haven't heard back from him. So I'm guessing he got what he wanted.
And how about in terms of divesting yourself of stuff? Are you making progress?
As far as the Bill Merrick collection, I think the only thing really left is some printers and a bunch of more of that, the cassette software. Still got a bunch of that. So
okay. Am I correct? I thought that I saw in one of the pictures, and I don't know if it ended up with you or if it went with someone else. There was this plastic contraption that you put your 1000 into, and I think it had a little space for some cassette tapes, and your TV went on.
the Timeworks.
The Timeworks.
Yeah,
thing.
I still have that.
Okay, good.
Yes, it's fairly large. It's
right.
So it's hard to ship. I still have that running around.
So yeah, somebody asked on Facebook if that thing had ever been produced. I'm like, I am pretty sure I saw a picture of it in Bill's collection.
Speaking of collections, I will bring this up. There's a gentleman named George Gwilt on the Sinclair world. He was Scottish. He did a lot of work with assembly. Like Bill, he recently passed away, and a gentleman over in Scotland was able to drive over and pick fairly large collection, like the Bill Miller collection. So
Oh,
hopefully
wow.
he'll be going through that. You know, probably mostly the UK guys. It's all UK hardware, but
Yeah.
at least there's preserved and collected. And I don't know if he bought it or what. The family's like, hey, come by and pick it up, or we're gonna trash it, just like the Bill Miller.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. You know, do you remember Jack Boatwright?
Yeah,
Jack emailed me this week, and there was a fire in his garage. Big enough fire that it made the news, and he lost two. I don't remember exactly what he said. Two vintage cars, but this was also the place where all of his, not all, but the vast majority of that Timex Sinclair stuff that he had was sitting in that garage. Oh, a 59 El Camino and a 67 GTO. Good Lord.
didn't he get all the stuff from RMG?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
He got a massive amount of the stuff from RMG back in what, the 90s or something, late
Yeah, but
90s.
yeah, but
early
Jack's
2000s.
been pretty much. Yeah, we hasn't been very active lately. Let's put it that way.
No, yeah, he hasn't been feeling well, is what he said. But yeah, there was some big ass fire and made the news. He sent me the link to the article, and oof, something about exploding ammunition cylinders. Why? What? Okay, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what else he had in that garage of his, but yeah, he said that there was a lot of stuff that unfortunately he lost there, which is too bad. We're getting older. Some of us. I'm gonna stay young.
You look at.
Yeah, I do, and it's my youthful appearance here. Have you received any submissions for the ZXZine?
Nope, nothing yet. So,
Okay.
so
All right.
I'm
We'll
letting
start
you
cracking
guys kind of figure out what you want to write, who wants to, so, and then I'll just still play editor.
Okay.
So
And so as a reminder for folks who are just seeing this now, Tim, you have published ZXZine for years, right? And it's sort of
a number of years, yeah.
and it's largely been you, right? Entirely it's been you.
Yep.
And as you work on new stuff and learn new things, you put it together into a new issue of the ZXZine, and it might be once or twice a year, based on your schedule. And so what we have talked about, because you have, you're our treasurer, and you have some funds from the sale of Bill Miller's stuff. One of the things that we've talked about is a print run of ZXZine, but we want to have more than just Tim do the work. So if you are a person who likes to write, who wants to write about your experience, write about something that you're playing with, I have a couple. Oh, that reminds me, I have a couple books that I'm working on some reviews of, and in particular with Adam, because he has at least one of the same books. So we just need to finish those up and send them your way. And then at some point, let's see, what is this? This is April. At some point later in the year, when there's enough body of stuff to warrant it, we'll figure out the logistics of making it happen in print. And just like Crash, and then it'll just be just as popular as the Crash magazine. I mentioned that shoot, where's that book? Oh, now I don't know what I did with it. There's a guy on Sinclair ZX World Forum and he goes,
You're talking about Dr. Beep?
I'm talking about Dr. Beep. Now here's his book that he came out with last year, I think, and it describes his games, but it doesn't give and he doesn't have a list. Yeah, he doesn't have a 2023. Yeah, okay, so almost this time last year, May. This was a print on demand, and I must have ordered it right about now. he describes the games. Yes, a fellow Dutchman, fellow of Dutchman of Mark, not me. So he describes the games, but the listings themselves or the downloads themselves you can get through Sinclair ZX World. And he just published a new book on programming in assembly within 1K, on the ZX81, and I have it, and I don't know what I did with it. Oh, I do know what I did with it. There it is, right there. Here we go. The ultimate
You need a card
1K.
catalog.
I'm sorry.
You need a card catalog soon.
I do need a card catalog. Yes. Well, it's my horizontal filing system that's the problem. It's the ultimate 1K ZX81 coding book by Johan Coleman. Does he spell? Yeah, he just yeah. It is print on demand. It is 98 pages with a lot of code. I have not read it, but as soon as it came out, I bought it. So I'll be reading it and reviewing it for your for ZXZine. Coolman. Okay, cool. No pun intended, but it's good. It's good to know how to pronounce that. And if you want to program in assembly on the Spectrum, and then by extension on the 2068, there's another print-on-demand book called ZX Spectrum Assembly Let's Make a Game with a question mark at the end. All of these things are on Amazon. They're all Amazon print-on-demand, and not terribly expensive. Like Johann's 2 books, I think they were both $10, like $9.95 or something. So it's hard to go wrong at that price.
Looks like Johann's book is $7.59 right now.
Oh my God. See, there we go. Even better. That might be for you. You know, Amazon has that weird demand pricing depending upon who you are. $7.59. Yep, cool. I'm gonna put that up on the screen for folks as soon as I can find the screen. Share the screen. Right. So here's that ultimate 1K book that I just showed. You can see that I purchased this April 12th. Wow, it's already got 4-star reviews. Cool. So yeah, this is, I mean, at the very least, support Johan and get a copy of this. This is kind of cool, just in the fact that he describes the games and his motivation behind this. This was actually a project that he set for himself to write 81 games in 1K within, if I think I will recall correctly, it was within 1 year. Like that was his goal. And then the other book that I just mentioned was, let's see, ZX Spectrum Assembly. There we go. There it is. This book is really fantastic. I've read a bunch of the sort of classics of programming in assembly for the 81 and for the Spectrum, and the books that were written back in the 80s, and they're pretty good, but this book is just full of really good examples. It starts small and builds up to more complex projects, and teaches you how to do the sound programming, but especially how to do all the graphics programming. The examples are actually decent examples, and you can see it has it's got some pretty good ratings. I wonder what this 2-star one was. So this one at least has made the most sense to me when it comes to learning how to program on the Spectrum and programming for the 2068. is not that different. It's just you need that translation table of where the routines move to. So, oh, Greg, did you? Oh, cool. You dropped the link into the chat. Awesome. All right. I think that's as much as I know. Is Mark still with us, or did Mark drop us? Looks like our other special guest dropped us. Shall I go round robin? Shall I call on you? Greg, since you're first for me, in my view, tell us what you've been up to. Besides, the death machines.
Oh, like in life, or with just the Sinclair stuff?
Just well, yeah, the Sinclair stuff, the retro stuff, whatever floats your boat.
Well, I bought that record of Camouflage, the ZX81.
Oh, that's right.
So I tested. I've got it ripped and tested and verified I can load it.
Yeah.
And I went to play it, and it was completely out of sync because it's made for a 50 hertz. One, so it uses just for loops to kind of, and some sleeps to try and keep it in sync.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I'm going to fix that and make a 60 hertz NTSC version of the software. So I've been playing with that. But
and for folks who don't, for folks who are not either new wave or spectrum or combination of that fans, there was a band called Camouflage, right? I think it was the band, right?
That's the name of the song.
The name of the song. Oh, there was a band called Camouflage, but it was the song.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's Chris Seavey. I think it was just under his name.
Was that
Frank Sidebottom was his
Frank? Oh, that's right.
Frank Sidebottom is his alter ego. Yes.
Yes, that's right. Oh my gosh. Right. So Frank did this song called Camouflage, and he also wrote a program that is it on the flip side?
Yeah, it's on the flip. There's actually 3 programs. He wrote a little simple game that were at 16K, and then he has a really even more simpler version that's 1K. Not a really fun game, but it's kind of funny that he put those on there. So there's 3 programs for the ZX81
right
on the side B.
And this guy's real name is Chris Seavey. And he was, well, he was involved in music in the UK for a long time. And then he invented this character, Frank Sidebottom, which involved this giant plaster paper mache head. And that was a thing unto itself. It's very entertaining. I'm trying to remember the name of that movie there was a movie that came out a few years back. Oh, it's just called Frank. A film called Frank that came out back in 2014 that is sort of loosely inspired. There's a character in the movie that is like Frank Sidebottom, the giant head. Very bizarre. Wow, that's cool that you've got that camouflage. And right, and so this was a 7-inch, right? If I recall correctly.
Yeah, it's a single.
Yeah.
So and I've got it with the full liner art. It's beautiful copy. I was able to get a copy. I was looking for a long time to get it. It's kind of hard to get in America, and it's not that common even in the UK.
So where did you end up finding it?
I, by happenstance, was looking for some other ZX81 stuff, and somebody had posted that on eBay and on a buy it now. And I'm like, screw that, I'm buying it right now. I didn't know how much it was going to cost because it's in pounds, and it always means more. And then you got shipping, which isn't cheap from the UK anymore.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the cheapest single I've ever bought, but I was still happy to buy it.
And there was a guy.
It looks great on the 50 hertz emulation. It is completely in sync, so I know it's a single.
Okay. One of the guys that was in the Buzzcocks did a record similar to that. Do you know about that one?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, it's well, let me just look up who was in the Buzzcocks, because it was this guy who did, I think it was Pete Shelley. Okay, that sounds about, or yeah, all right. So I think it was Pete Shelley. All right, so he did a record which had, I don't know if it was ZX81.
I just found it. Yeah, ZX Spectrum. I found
Spectrum.
it.
Okay, yes, right, right. So the XL1 was the album, and it had 10 Spectrum programs on it. So add that to your list, Greg.
Yeah, okay, we'll track that one down.
Not quite the Buzzcocks, but you know, maybe like you know, his post Buzzcocks work. Yeah, that'll be very entertaining.
But Camouflage is a catchy tune too for anyone that hasn't listened to it. So it's not just kind of cool. It actually is a nice song as well.
Yeah. No, the Frank's, if Chris Seavey and the stuff he did at Frank's Sidebottom, he was, you know, he was a good musician. I liked his stuff. But then again, I like, you know, early 80s new wave music. So my taste is poor in that respect. We have people like that. Tim of the ska. Maybe that should be your nickname, Tim of the ska.
Actually, since you mentioned Camouflage, I thought you originally were talking about the band Camouflage. 'Cause I'm a big fan of theirs too.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do the
And-
Great Commandment. That's another one of my favorite songs.
Right.
that's right. That's
And the
right.
first rock show I
Everything
went to
that is
was
still-
Depeche Mode in '85.
Oh boy.
And it turns out another guy I know locally just so happens he said he was there at the same event. So
Oh, out in California.
yeah, I was at the Henry J. Kaiser Convention Center.
Wow.
Book of Love and Depeche Mode.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I haven't heard of them in a long time either. That's cool. That's cool. All right, Greg. We expect a full report on Pete Shelley's, you know, programming skills in the not too distant
We'll
future.
have to track that one down. I just posted the. I did get it. I posted the same thing. I was going to post. I've got a link for the Camouflage.
Oh, for the video on YouTube?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Paul. I know your
Yes.
current mission in life is to clean your house out, or at least minimize it, right?
Hopefully.
How are you doing with that?
Other than digging out those the EPROMs for Carl, that's been it for the last couple of weeks.
And
Oh, and he got the three membranes too.
oh yeah, that's right.
And I
Are
sent
there-
him an upgraded QL ROM chip too.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, so you probably have a lot of stuff because of your you know, mechanical affinity that you and Frank Davis did, right?
Well, we did.
And then you just accumulated other things as they, you know, came across your radar.
Not lately. I did pass along the core memory board I had.
Oh dear Lord, that's got to be ancient.
It was taken out of service in the late 80s.
Wow. What was it taken out of?
An old AT&T switch that still was operating, but they upgraded part of it, which means the core memory had to go.
Okay. And did they upgrade that to a 5 1/4 inch floppy?
Hard drives.
Hard drives.
Years after the 3.5s were common
Yes.
at $400 a piece.
Oh dear Lord.
Yes, they got ripped off.
One of the things that I've kind of wondered about is you and Frank were not. No, I don't know the geography of Indiana's, but you and Frank were in different cities,
Yeah, about an hour away.
an hour apart. How did you? Because you know your ads had both your address and Frank's address, and so how did people know who to write?
Well, we split the inventories mostly, but
Okay.
you know, it was a lot of phone contacting.
Okay. And did you
Or
know?
one of us would drive to the others.
So if somebody wrote you and said, I want this thing, and you didn't have it, you'd go get it from Frank, or vice versa?
Or he would mail it.
Okay. Interesting. And how did that work for the bookkeeping? That must have been a nightmare.
Not really. We kept track of it.
Okay. All right. And Frank, you, I think you were the first person to say, I've done enough, right?
Yes.
Okay. And did you just
Well,
have
I
too
had
much?
something else I wanted to do and I couldn't do that. And the desk job I had at work, plus the family, plus something else.
Yeah. I mean, it gets busy, doesn't it?
Yeah. I was involved with the community for a while.
Okay. Um, and then Frank kept going. I'm trying to remember what did he go into the Amiga stuff, or
Yeah, he went into the Amiga line as we sold out of the Timex line and the Sinclair line.
okay. And is Frank still around, or
As far as I know, yes. But I
okay.
haven't been in touch with him for a while.
All right. Well, we should try to find Frank and see if we can get him to join in. That'd be interesting. Maybe we can get you two to fight.
Probably not. I also did a lot of the European, the English phone calling.
Where did my phone go?
And you did
Right here, it's got it.
what's the QL library thing.
The Quanta
Quantum.
sub-librarian for the US for a while.
Okay.
So I had their software library.
That must have been a lot of fun when people would, write to you and you'd have to run off a bunch of discs, huh?
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was over. I was able to get foil lined boxes from work that were nice for 3.5 floppies.
Foil lined. What was the advantage of foil lining, so that you could mail it without it being?
The company shipped them, some stuff in them. I don't
Yeah.
remember what, but I got the boxes when they were left over.
Okay.
But I could get about 60 floppies in it, and I had more floppies in the Quanta library than that.
Oh dear Lord. Dear God. And this reminds me this was in the 90s, right? Early 90s. Yeah. So back when we had all those public domain disk services, where you could, write off and get copies of whatever on 5 1/4 or 3.5-inch floppies. And you were the person. Wow. That must have been awesome. You must have really enjoyed that.
Did I send you a set of about 9 floppies that were on Oliger format?
Yes.
Okay.
The PD. Was
PD
that
1, 2, 3, 4?
and that was the ISTUG library, right?
Also, probably T-Snug.
Okay. Which one off the top of my head was T-Snug? That's not
That was the
Toronto.
national.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, I have those waiting for me to get my grease weasel back out and run them. Mark wants to know, do the North American QLs have normal D sub RS-232? Yeah, didn't they, Paul?
Yes, definitely.
Not the
normal.
Yeah. All right. So if anybody wants something old, we should email you.
You can try. I have managed to pass along most of the extra QL stuff. Even though it hasn't seen any electricity in a long time, I've kept one setup.
Yeah. Is it on a desk somewhere, or is it like packed away?
It's packed away.
Oh,
There was a lot of problem then of space and energy after the house fire.
Oh, ooh, okay. That doesn't sound good.
Well, we were out of the house for a year.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
The
Wow.
insurance company didn't like that.
I can imagine. All right. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Ada. Oh, wait. Sorry, I'm sorry. Tim, do you want to
Actually, I want to jump in your one thing, Paul. If people ask me a bit, so you still own the rights to the JSU ROM, although I don't think you really tried to enforce that. Have you or Paul ever thought about just technically making the JSU freeware?
Well, what we did, Frank and I both, is basically wanted to know what was going on with. So if somebody asked for permission, they got it.
Okay.
We didn't
So, I mean,
charge. I don't
Uh,
remember charging anybody for use if they asked.
Okay. I don't know if I'll see what people want to do, whether they want to do. Do you know if there's a disassembly of the JSU out there or not?
Ah, I think Frank may have had a copy of that. I didn't.
Okay.
I
I
had
mean,
most of the ROM codes that we, custom formatted for people.
Okay. So just curious. All right. So
'Cause
thanks.
we also did marketing the Minervas as long as they were in the replacement ROM board.
All right.
Tim, I know a tiny bit about the QL. What is that? I know that there's different ROMs, but what is that ROM and what makes it special?
So some of the early ROMs were, for lack of a better term, they were pre-production. It's kind of, you don't ever buy 1.0 of anything. You always wait for 2 or 3. So
Oh,
some of the early ROMs
oops.
were not very good. And the last goods, probably the most common good QL ROM was called the JS.
Mhm.
And when they came to the US, they had to modify it for the R 60 hertz versus their 50, and they called it the JSU. So all North American systems had the JSU ROM, where they actually had JS in the UK. I think the next one after that was MG. And that's what Tom Bent did, took the MG ROM, modified it a bit, and that's why I think it's now the MGU for what he did.
Okay.
Um,
Speaking of which,
there are
Carl
also
has a
some
copy of that.
language difference.
Well, so
Get a copy. I'll pay Carl because I'd like to get a copy to Dilwyn Jones, who's been archiving on his website all the different ROM versions.
who was it? Was it Sinclair that made this ROM? Or somebody else?
The MG?
No, the JS and the
Oh yeah,
JS.
Sinclair
Yes.
did the JS.
I'm sorry, Sinclair.
Yep.
So is it just like a version that it was called that? Does the J
Yep.
stand for something?
Just modified to run in North America. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what the differences are, but I think mostly it was just the 50 hertz versus 60 hertz was the biggest difference.
Okay.
And if anybody's really adventurous with a QL, the PM version, which was the prototype, did make it out into the world occasionally, very early on. That got archived when Eurus visited the house here, and he took home the PM QL that I had.
So and then Tom Bent made one called the MG.
The MG.
Okay.
So MG was came after the JS, and then so Tom modified the MG to create the MGU. I
Okay.
want to think. I think the name, because there was a PM, AH, JS, MG, the ones I could think of right off the top of my head. I think they were named after employees of Sinclair, but I'm not too sure. I think that's what they were.
Okay. How, Paul, how did you get, I don't know, the rights to that ROM?
We bought Tom Bent out lock, stock, and barrel.
Okay. And so Tom
I
must
think
have,
Tom bought A plus or whatever A plus had.
okay. So A
Remember
plus
correctly.
had some kind of, when you say rights, like some sort of North American rights or?
North American.
My understanding is when Sinclair left the US market, A Plus Computer Response bought everything that from Sinclair.
Okay.
Lock, stock, and barrel, the inventory, whatever they had in the US, they bought. I believe that included the rights to the JSU ROM and the North American reselling rights. And then A Plus, everyone else, all other dealers had to go through A Plus to get their QLs. That's why if you look at boxes of the American QLs, there's always an A Plus label on it because they had to go through them. My understanding is that when A Plus got out, Tom Bent bought A Plus, and then A Plus got bought out by Mechanical Affinity.
Okay. Okay. I think that I have tracked Tom down. Should I try to encourage him to come hang out with us sometime?
Sure, it's been a long time since we talked to him.
We can see if you can remember any of these details and how to modify these ROMs.
He used to
Off the
occasionally
dead.
come to the Capitol. He used to come to the DC, Washington DC meeting every now and again.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, from the
So I've met him before.
sorry, from the newsletters, it sounded like he was pretty involved in the DC group at one point.
And you know that speech synthesizer you
Yeah,
have from me?
yeah.
I bought it at a White Elephant sale or something there at the Cats group. I think that might have actually come from Tom.
Oh, that's funny.
Because when he found out what I got for how much I paid for it, because no one else was interested, he's like, "Oh, you got a steal." So I think it might have come from him.
All right, cool. All right, well, I will. I'll make a renewed effort on Tom to see if we can't get him to show up. I saw Mark M pop up a minute ago. He was in his car, it looked like. Hey, Mark. Are you there? Oh, maybe hopefully he's not driving.
No, I actually am driving, so that's why.
All right. We'll come back
I'll
to you,
just keep
Mark.
quiet. Thanks.
We'll come back to you. Let us know when you're done driving. Wow, that's dedication. Hey, Marc Kloosterman.
Yeah.
You are, oh my gosh, and you're a camera collector too. I didn't know that. All right, but we won't talk about that. Because I'm also a camera collector.
I collect collections.
So you have probably the largest collection. Oh, what is that, a QL?
That's
Is that a
his
European
favorite.
QL?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the
With
funky jacks.
yes. But it
The
says
sideways RJs.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is a UK video signal.
Yeah.
So did they have a UHF as well, or VHF, or what did they have for TV output?
Paul, what did we have for video output on the American ones?
VHF.
Oh, really?
VHF.
Okay. Okay.
And RGB.
And
And
RGB.
it's missing.
TV and RGB.
And Mark, it's been a while. So you have a little bit of a tiny bit of a Sinclair collection there. You have one or two
Yeah,
machines. And you have a very small website where you have documented these things, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So what is it that so you now know that you need another QL for your small collection.
Yeah.
Do you have all of the 2068s, like the Portuguese 2068 and how about the 3256? I think it is.
I think there was a prototype, so I don't have it.
Okay.
I know the Portuguese museum has, but yeah, that's a museum. I'm not a museum.
one could be easily fooled by your website and the mass quantities behind you.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I'm just taking. Oh yeah, you've got a little 1500 there. I saw it. Oh, and those nice black 2068s and 2048s. Very cool. Yeah, the 1500. What's that thing with the? Oh, that's Do you
There's
have
the
all?
fif-
Did you manage to get all 4 cartridges?
only 3 of them.
Only 3. Okay,
Yeah.
and you're probably missing the really valuable states and capitals, right?
Um, yeah, yep, I do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm missing it. Yeah, but I do have all the 20 uh 68 cartridges, including two of the pinballs, which are quite difficult to get.
Yeah, okay, good. Because somebody asked that question somewhere else, whether pinball was ever actually produced. And all right, so now we know.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Um,
It exists.
oh my gosh, look at that. That's amazing. Do you power these things up every once in a while, right?
Mm, well, only when I get them,
Okay,
I power them up to check if they're working, but
okay.
more for display purposes.
And your 2068s, like the silver ones, those you got those, I'm assuming, from someone in America?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I bought one through Etsy actually, which is not really a website for that kind of stuff, but yeah, someone was offering it. So there's a Timex Sinclair,
Very clean.
very clean. Whoop. And of course, this is a Timex computer,
Oh, yeah,
and
okay.
it says PAL.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. We can see it. Very nice.
So yeah, there's the black one.
Yeah.
These are the Polish versions.
I was going to ask you about that because I was just reading about the Polish versions the other day. Oh wow, look at that.
Unipol.
Unipol Brit. And that bottom one has a better keyboard in it?
I wouldn't say better, but it's different.
Different? Okay.
Yeah, the first batch that were exported to Poland had a keyboard replacement, but later on they stopped doing that.
Oh. Yeah, that
So
looks really
it's
odd in that. Is it not quite flush? I mean, it looks like it's sort of shoehorned in.
yeah,
Oh. Oh, how crazy is that?
it's
Huh.
kind of rare, but sometimes you get lucky, you know.
Wow. Now, do you have the big floppy disk system? The FDD 3000?
No, but I do have a corner
Like everything's tucked in.
non-working. Yeah, I know. Non-working
What is
Unipol
Oh, is
Polish
that what it looked like? Whoa, that's crazy.
something. Yeah,
That is interesting. So they repackaged it into one big box.
yeah.
Is that a 3-inch or a 3.5-inch floppy?
I think it's 3 inch.
3-inch. Okay.
That's about the size of the box of my QL hard drive.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a big box. That's what,
It's
that's,
enormous.
yeah. Yeah.
And it had a serious power supply in it, which really added weight.
Well, that looks like it's a boat anchor.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
built in,
God.
so yeah, it's very heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Wow. That is insane.
And kind of neat that in Chile, where they have the NTSC system, they actually sold
Oh,
the NTSC version because
wow.
they all say PAL on the keyboard.
Hmm.
There it is.
Is that a Jupiter Ace over on the left, that white thing?
Um, what do you think?
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, the Jupiter 4000 is missing. So yeah.
Okay.
Can
Okay. That's really cool. So this for the folks who don't know, this is a fourth based computer that two of the folks from Sinclair, they left Sinclair and went off and made this thing. And they
fit is
thought,
an
you know, that
outlaw.
fourth was going to take the, you know, I love the idea of fourth, and fourth people really love fourth. And they thought fourth was going to take over the world back in the 80s. It did not, unfortunately. Yeah, so the Jupiter Ace did not succeed. Oh, and yes, the Micro Ace. Nice. This is another interesting story. This was built by a company called Comp Shop in the UK, and they also cloned the Ohio Scientific Superboard or something like that.
101. Yeah.
And what they did with this was they changed I think two of the address or data lines
Data lines.
in the computer itself. And so in theory, the ROM in a micro ace is not the same ROM as in a ZX80. Sinclair took them to court. The judge couldn't quite grasp these, subtle concepts, but got them on the keyboard. That was the thing. And the micro ace was available in the United States for a little bit of time. And in case you didn't notice, the micro ace is the photographic negative of the ZX80. So if you had a right, so it's where there's white, there's black, and where there's blue, there's red. Just literally like an old color negative. Wow. Thank you, Mark. Oh, what have you there? Oh, wow, that's crazy. You got one of those micro digitals. And those are from Brazil?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy.
You might know the story about this little gadget.
I don't know that much about the new brain.
It was commissioned, I think, or yeah, something like that by Sinclair. And then they went bust, and the UK government bought the company, I think.
Yeah.
They got their hands on the new brain, which they sold to another company. But it was developed at Sinclair Radionics
Okay.
at one time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Randy Kindig did a series on it recently on the floppy days.
on the new brain?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Okay. I'll have to
So
dig
you
it
can
up
learn you can learn a lot on that one.
Oh, awesome. I'll dig it up and link to it in the comments. I saw one other thing that kind of another one of those. Oh, how bizarre. That looks thicker than am I correct?
Yeah, much thicker.
Okay.
I think because of the heatsink.
So it's like a Fat Mac.
Yeah, same with this one.
Oh, how
So
strange. Now, are those Spectrum clones or are they still 1000 clones?
this is a Spectrum clone.
Okay. Wow. How strange. Do you have the micro digital that is actually a Radio Shack color computer clone but looks like a
The
2068?
TK2000. No, I don't have it
Oh,
because it's not a Spectrum, but I do have the 95.
look at
Which looks like
and that's a Spectrum
Commodore
clone,
Plus
right?
4.
Oh, is it? But it's a Spectrum clone though, right?
It's a Spectrum clone, yeah, but it looks like a Commodore
In a Commodore Plus 4, case.
Plus 4. Yeah.
How strange. Every time I look at these things, I have to wonder, what were they thinking? And I saw at the far left end some white expansion modules. I think that those are from the folks who made the PC 8300 or the Lambda 8300 or whatever. Yeah, right, exactly. The computer behind it, which was a Chinese 1000-ish clone.
Yeah.
Yeah, not compatible at all, but similar in operation. It looks
This
like you
is
One
have
of the
the.
core
handheld
module.
Spectrums you got up there, the one that nobody got.
Oh, he's got, what is that? The Vega?
Yeah, the
Oh, yeah.
Vega 2. The one on the left, people got. The one on the right, I hear, are super uncommon.
Yeah, but actually these were found in a dumpster at the near at the company who made them for retro games. And someone on Facebook bought a whole inventory, and yeah, we saw them. And
Wow.
some did work, like mine.
Wow.
At some there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark,
It used to
when you
work.
get a chance, put the URL to your website in the chat.
Okay, I will.
Because yeah, your website's just fantastic. You've got photos of all of this stuff, and sometimes you have a little video of you running that thing, whatever the thing
There's
is.
only one video.
Oh, there's only one
And
video.
yeah,
Oh.
the little radio. There's a video. Where is it?
Cool. Oh my lord. You're a museum unto yourself.
Yeah, I know. It's the Britain's smallest radio. Yeah.
Sinclair Micromatic. Very nice. Cool. Thank you, Mark.
I'm trying to add some texts to the pictures, so a little story.
Oh,
Not
good.
too much because it's all on Wikipedia as well. So
True. Yeah, there's a lot out there. But you're you have the hands-on experience with some of this stuff that
that's
a lot of folks don't necessarily have. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, sir. Hey Ryan, can I pick on you?
Sure.
Have you tell me that you've been playing with your 400 and the Pico and that you got it working?
Well, it was, they could see it. I'm not sure how I actually do anything through there though.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wasn't playing with that. I was just having to play with with just the Pico by itself hooked to the computer. And I guess yeah, I guess we'll talk more about that. Well, maybe Wednesday. We'll see how it goes timing wise. If I can make that, there may be an Adamant concert involved.
What? Adamant, did you say?
Yes.
What? Where's Adamant performing?
Here in town.
In Albuquerque.
Yeah, it's the hotspot. You know that.
No, I don't know that. Are you
No,
I
don't know. No, there's just some venue gets some. They have they I guess get a lot of these acts come through.
Wow. All right. Well, that's a valid excuse. We'll let that one go.
But we'll see. I might be able to pop in for a bit.
How about?
So I was just playing around with it from basic. I had an idea of this sort of very simple interface thing. I was just knocking up here. And I guess I need to save it just to make sure I don't screw up.
And what about non-Pico stuff? What have you been up to?
Now the non-Pico stuff, yeah, it kind of stalled for a bit. I need to get back in touch with Carl. I think he's been busy. Having to do with the 1510 cartridges.
Yeah.
I sort of got to a point where I'm not sure. I can't fix my bug if there's a bug, and so I was actually going to ask for some help, which was the behavior I'm seeing is it works great for most things. You know, since I don't have Windows system, I'm running 81 through Wine on
Okay.
my 400,
Yeah, me too.
which
On
is
the
backed by the what is it, Box 64?
yeah.
That's doing the Intel translation.
Mhm.
Which actually, Wine, was it Wine? Yeah, I guess it's Wine got to a point which has caused a few issues, but like they've got a lot of the translation to the native API, so they don't have to translate nearly as many Intel commands
Okay.
to ARM now. But if there is still some that's just regular code, it has to translate that. So a lot of the emulations go faster, but this one still runs slowly and it's got some quirks. So I don't know if it's a problem with my emulation. So I was going to ask if people could, and I guess I can post some of these ROMs to test them under 81.
Okay.
Because they're the bizarre thing is like it'll work if I in 81 if I say load it, if I emulate a ZX81 or a TS1000 and I say load the ROM, then you have to do rand user 8192. Works great.
Yes.
You change to a 1500 emulation and it doesn't work well all the time.
With
There's some that
81.
do work. And so something about its 1500 emulation changes the equation.
Okay.
And so it'll behave, it'll either just be in this restart loop, or I'm not really sure what it is, some sort of loop glitching. Sometimes the screen is there and then it's just glitching. But then I've had a few things, simple things, where it just works. And so I don't know why it doesn't work sometimes. No idea why it's behaving differently. And so I don't know if that's a problem with just my 81
The emulator.
Emulator has a problem. So I need to get someone else to try to load these ROMs, and I can post a link in the group to. I've got a folder, or either that, I'll just post a couple of the ROMs to try
Oh.
that are having trouble.
So
But
yeah.
otherwise, it seems that I've kind of got it, and I basically have two different loaders. One based on looking at the original cartridges and then just sort of enhance that to be generalized, and which basically just takes the program code and optionally the variables and then puts those in the ROM and then loads those into memory, reconstructs some of the system variable pointers, and then calls some initialization. That's how the original ones were loading, but then that was stopped working on several other things I had. One was like the view calc and related files. They go and do a checksum of the system variables. So
that's crazy.
That wasn't going to work. So I said, well, you know what? I think what should work in most every case I can think of is a tape loader. And so I was able to write that. So you can opt for this alternate loader that takes everything in the P file and just puts it in the ROM, and then the loader just loads that in just like
like it was tape.
Like as well as near as I can. I don't not sure if I was doing it perfectly because I don't really understand the tape loader routine disassembly that well, but it seems to be good, and that solved the problems with that and several others. And then there's options to get around some things, and I may work those into the code for some known things. Like, remember that the new game Impact that you pointed us to?
Yeah.
Well, apparently everything that guy made must be made with some sort of, development system, and it writes the P file. There was like another one did the same thing. For whatever reason, the auto start points to the correct byte, but the byte, it inserts an extra byte before that line and after the rem line, which tends to, for whatever reason, screws things up sometimes. And so sometimes you can get around that by, like, I could say, well, just force the auto start to like a different line. Like, that's what I did in that demo weeks ago, was I just forced the auto start to like the last line, which is really just go to the other line, and it works. I don't know why. But I think I kind of know why, but I don't know why it fails. So on his other game, very similar, but I can't get it to work. Yet you load that P file into anything, and it's happy with it. So there's something about a P file loading I don't quite understand yet, to finally get everything sort of perfect. So, but for most things, it's working, except for those. I forgot what outfit those other games that use special hardware. That was.
Was it the Zonix audio thing, or was it the Z Expand stuff? So you're gonna post this to the group.
Oh, here we go. It was the Quicksilver stuff.
Oh, okay.
They had some special hardware, and 81. I guess 81 is one of the few that I've seen that emulate some of that. And so they have like one little program that loads and programs the hardware, and then the end of that loads the next program on tape. The P files are one file per P file, so that gets a little squirrely depending, especially when the ones that you could download had the wrong names, and so the emulator wouldn't even find the P file to load. But you get that all sorted out. The problem is that, of course, I can't combine. Well, you'd have to rewrite it, but the first one has machine code in it, in a rem statement, and then the game program has the same thing. So it'll be very hard to combine the two codes together into one P file. So I'm going to make a loader that hopefully can work for this situation where you've got a little P file that does a job, and then another one, and it'll be able to load the first one and then somehow remember it loaded that one already, and then load the second one the next time it's called.
Right. So
but you have to modify the loader program first to instead of calling, instead of saying load, it would call the rand user, and then you have to. But anyway, that one's down the road.
Okay.
I'm not worried about that because those all require special hardware, although you can emulate that.
Well, so Ryan, I have I'm kind of close to you. I have a Mac, and I run 81 under Wine as well. Although I had to get the licensed version because the free 81 doesn't work with the M1 processor Macs. But anyway, so I can test that for you.
Okay.
If chip did Carl used a 27, a 512, right? I think. I'll find out from Carl how to program the chip, because I can then program another chip and just put it on the chip and test it on my real hardware as well. The 1000. I don't have a 1500. But maybe some of the other folks in the group can pick up and help, especially if somebody has Windows. We can see what it does under with 81 in Windows. Maybe it's just an emulated version problem. Who knows?
Yeah, I haven't tried to go in and part of the problem with the emulation I've got is the drawing has some sort of flaw, so that the debugger window, the instruction that you're on is like black on black text, so it's really kind of annoying to debug stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't really spent a lot of time trying to delve into stepping through there. I did some of that on Zasarix in the early testing when I was just doing my own little, I could take a very small program, ROM, and then make a little, using some utility help, make a little tiny loader for that and load it into the 8K area by turning on RAM there. Just poke it in and then call it, and the loader would work. And that kind of got me started. And those were working, and I could step through there and see make sure it was doing what it's supposed to do. So anyhow, that's kind of where that's gotten to on that. And
okay.
Well, so it's been stalled for a bit, and then yeah, I don't think there's anything. I don't think there was anything else I was working on currently.
Okay.
The ROM translator is kind of also on the back burner along with it. Maybe I'll get back to that.
Well, you've been working on a lot of stuff, especially it seems like in the past year or so, you've really picked up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Recently, then there was that library tape archive that came up.
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because I was looking at, I was just catching up on posts on my phone and wasn't paying close attention to what this post was, and it was responding to this old thread, right? And he was saying, "Oh, I got some of the tapes," and then there's that picture of the tapes, and I was like, "Wait a minute, isn't that my program?" I thought that was pretty cool. Well, but I guess that's some other later archive.
Let's back up for a second, Ryan. So, what was this? Last year sometime, I think, that you dug up a library tape that you had from the Dallas Fort Worth Timex Sinclair user group,
right?
And you had managed to get a bunch of stuff off, but there was kind of some spots on the tape where it's a little wobbly.
Yeah, Adam recorded the tape, and side A and B kind of acted like the notes in my note card for it. Side B had a lot of load errors, and so I'd gone through side A using Fuse and things, and just basically got all of those to text files, and I made some notes, and that's what I posted recently.
Yeah,
I had updated a lot of my notes on those things, and then side B, yeah, I just couldn't even pulling that in. I tried re-recording some of it myself, and that tape is just bad on side B.
Sure.
So I was hoping that since this is a different archive, that we might be able to recover some of those side B programs from that.
Yeah, and this other archive is from Mike, was a member of that group at the time, and he says he checked out the tape and forgot to return it. Which is kind of funny. And then he had he had some other tapes, but I didn't quite understand. Carl, Ryan, you said you recognized one of the tapes?
Well, he had a picture of the. He gotten a picture of the tapes,
Yeah.
and he had some like Timex tapes in the box, and then some ones that had handwritten spines. And I guess he pulled some of the programs off of the library tape onto separate cassettes for convenience, I think. And so I was looking down the list of things, and one of them said Fudge.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, is that my program, Fudge?" And because I didn't realize at the time, at that moment, that it was a Fort Worth library tape.
Yeah.
And so then he said, "Oh yeah, that's what it was." And I said, "Well, that's pretty cool that, you know, my program made it onto a cassette by itself somewhere." But then I saw the listing, and yeah, it differs from the one that I have. So it's probably a later tape, but it's different. You know, it's just another one, and we might be able to get some of those other programs
Yeah.
that
And
I
then
can't get off of the side B of mine.
and Fudge is that user defined graphic editor that you
Yeah, that's that one. It's really kind of not great. It was more of a joke because if you look at the date, it was only a few months after the Macintosh had come out.
Yeah.
And so I thought it'd be funny to make a graphical user defined. I had a basic editor, and so I just enhanced it to look like a Mac screen, and so it has the pull down menus and an Apple menu, but it's really terrible at trying to edit things because you have to use the joystick and go and wait and move the pointer and then press the button, and it's really slow that way to edit graphics. So I'm not sure if I have the regular editor, but by now I've incorporated that into my Quick Font.
Right. The newer version.
The user graphics editing.
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, and you gave Mike probably better hints than I did about the ROM thing. Because
I know it's confusing.
Yeah.
And actually I still don't remember. I don't remember, like, does the Spectrum ROMs package give you the 2068 ones? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know on Linux. I used
But I think it does.
Okay. Cool.
I know I added a few. Like I don't think it gives you interface 1 ROM. I think that's one it doesn't have.
Okay.
But you can find that on archive.org.
Yeah. Jay, you wanted to know if anybody's near Bremerton, Washington.
Yeah, if you can give me some names or addresses or something, or have them call me or something, that'd be great.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have a database of folks, and the database is built from people who either wrote articles for newsletters or wrote in letters. Kurt, you wrote a letter at one point and you're on my website because of that. and so
My soldering
is that your
right next to mine.
you are more you're more dedicated than I am to that issue. Okay, so I'm going to give you some cities here, Jay, and you tell me if it's close to you. Moses Lake.
That's like on the other side of the state.
Vashon.
But it's a great place to be, I'll tell you that.
All right, so we're a little tour of Washington here. All right.
Yeah.
Vashon. Vashon Island, I think it is actually.
I think it's probably closer, but I'm not sure exactly where that is. I wasn't born here in Washington, so I've lived here quite a long time, but I still don't know a lot of different
places
and stuff.
Sammamish?
That's reasonably close.
How about Bellevue?
That's also reasonably close.
Ridgefield?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And Union or Tacoma?
Union or Tacoma. Tacoma's pretty close, very close actually.
Is it?
Let me just shut the screen and the door here.
Okay. So I will export these contacts. Now the thing is that these contacts are probably very old, some of them at least. I wonder if this person, I'm just gonna look at okay. Yeah, so the person in Bellevue is recent. Like when I say recent, within the past couple of years. But some of them, like Paul, Paul's been around forever. And Paul's in my database, and there's lots of people like that. Like and Kurt, who sort of just reappeared recently. He's in my database, but I don't think I have. I don't know. I don't know if I had. Sometimes people would put their address, on a letter, and I'd put that into the thing. So, I know cities sometimes, but don't have phone numbers for the most part. Might have an email for some, so you might have to dig to find some of these folks.
Yeah, that's
I can
cool.
at least tell you who lived within some distance of you within the past 40 years. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, how much time is left?
We have about 20 minutes or so.
20 minutes. So I just want to give a few compliments out if you don't mind. I got the Pico. It's awesome. I really love that. The VGA card is like, oh my gosh, that is just that's like HDMI. It's so beautiful. So those things were a lot of work. And then also I got your 2068 ROM disassembly. Wow, there's a lot of work in there. Whew. How long did that take you?
A couple years. And you know what? Here's the thing about that is this year, I don't know if you were in the meeting. We had a meeting with a guy named Lon Hildreth a couple years back, and Lon was a programmer at Timex, and one of the projects that he was put on was porting CPM to the 2068, and he even went out to digital research in California and took a 2068 with him and some micro drives and stuff, and spent a couple days with them learning about how that might be possible. Anyway, when Timex shut down, Lon just took all kinds of stuff and put it in a box and put it in his closet. And when he met with us on Zoom, this is a couple years back, he pulled that box out and he had this stack of papers next to him, right? During the meeting, and I'm like, Lon, what is in that stack? So I reached out to him a few months ago, I think, and he sent me his box basically, and I scanned all the stuff in the box. One of the things he had was the original assembly listing for the Spectrum ROM, which to date had been lost, but he had printed it out, and so he had that, and that's available. He also worked on the 2068 ROMs, both the home ROM and the X ROM. And there was another guy who did most of the X ROM work. His name was Dave. His last name escapes me, but he's passed away. But Lon had printouts of all this stuff, and so I scanned it, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, now I know how that mystery routine works. Oh, now I know what this thing does. And so I appreciate that you bought the book. I have to revise the book because because the book is reverse engineering, and now I have the source with annotations.
Wow.
Um,
Well, I'm
so
looking forward to buying version 2, okay?
right, right. Yeah, it was fantastic. It'll be much improved. There'll be lots of interesting things in it. Sorry. So you have that, and I think you also got the sort of the
The
everything book.
tech manual for the
Oh,
2016.
the tech manual. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is not, I mean, there's versions of it up on archive.org, but I got my hands on a unmolested copy, and I was like, oh, because the versions on archive were not complete. They were like missing some pages and stuff. And so I scanned it, and I was like, people are going to want a print version of this. And so I figured out how to do that. So if you want, a facsimile copy of the tech manual that came out in 85, yeah, 85. It's fun to read. I mean, it's got errors in it, but it's a nice facsimile copy. Yeah, cool. So what have you done with your Pico? Have you done anything?
Oh, I just learned how to use it pretty much.
Okay.
That's about it so far.
Okay.
And I have like a ton of work to do for my real job. So I, and for people that don't know, I started this renumber program. I did version 1, version 2,
Yeah.
and then on version 3, my computer died, and then I finally got a new one just recently. And I honestly, I don't plan to work on the renumber thing for a while because there's a lot of reasons, but basically it comes down to I don't have a lot of time for it. It is kind of complicated when you do the go-to part, which has been done before, so it's not like impossible. And Ryan has done this stuff before, and I think there's some other people that sent me code as well. And then there's Tom, is it Woods or
Tom
something?
Woods, yeah.
Tom Woods, right? He's got his. So it's not like you guys are being deprived by me not doing anything. But the thing is, I came to the conclusion that to do the more things, you need more lines of code, and the more lines of code you add, the slower it gets. And then the other thing is, you also like the more lines of code you add, the less you have room for the user to write his code.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get this diminishing return thing. So there's kind of like, now I think Tom Woods, because his was on a cartridge or something, that somehow or another it didn't really use any memory or something like that, and so that would
Yeah.
be like your
Yeah.
best scenario. So
Well, it would use a little bit of RAM, but the way that this to me is one of the coolest features of the 2068. And I think that this is also a feature of the TI, the 994A. You can put a basic program on a cartridge, which is what Tom did. He took, and his stuff, Tom Woods wrote these this little programmer's utility library, and you could get it on cassette. It had like 10 little utilities in it. But you could also get it on a cartridge. And the beauty of the cartridge was you could work on your program. Here's me working on my program, right? Typing. You could work on your program in the main RAM, and then there's a couple pokes, and that would switch in the cartridge, and then you could like type go to whatever to start that program running. And the way that the 2068 works with a basic program that's in the cartridge is it goes through line by line. And so, if there's a line 10, it takes that line 10 from the ROM and brings it over to a special place in RAM and runs it. And then it goes and fetches the next line and, does this and so on. So you can have a giant program in ROM that takes up almost no space in RAM except for the variables that it needs. So its variable space takes up a little bit of space. And I think that Tom was pretty judicious about that. But that's you know, as you're saying, Jay, that's a thing that's really, really cool. That you can have this whole thing running on the side, you know, to do renumbering or the other functions that his program does. I don't know off the top of my head if that should work with the Pico, his ROM image. And I will ask Ricardo to test it, because that's a thing that Ricardo's working on right now, is the routines. He's working on routines to load ROM images from the SD card and then put them either into the flash on the Pico or in the RAM, the SRAM chip on the Pico, so that you can, you know, use them as if they were dock programs. So that'll be really cool, especially if he can get Tom's thing to work. But he's got other parts to work, like games. He's gotten to work just fine.
So that brings up another question that I had. Maybe you can answer it, maybe not. So the TS 2068 was supposed to be able to access, like, I don't know, like 16 megabytes of RAM or something. So with this Pico, it has like, I don't know, 512 bytes, and I don't know how many are available.
Yeah.
Is there any like thing that we have now to like switch some of the bank, switch some of this in or use it or anything in a program or anything, or is that not available quite yet?
We were talking about this a few meetings back, and I don't remember the exact status of that, but the way that the original 2068 was going to work was that you would have multiple I'm trying to think what they called them. Pages. Thank you. Okay. So in your 2068, you've got the home page, which is 64K, right? And it's got the lower 16K is taken up with the home ROM, and then the upper 48K is RAM. And each of those pages is divided into an 8K chunk. So you can swap out, you know, and so there's the home, there's the XROM, and then there's the dock space, right? And what you can do, for instance, is swap out those two lower chunks, and you can have those two lower chunks come from the dock, which is how the OS 64 cartridge works, or the old Spectrum emulator cartridges worked, is that they had, you know, a 16K image in those lower two chunks. And so but your RAM was still coming out of home, the upper six chunks. So in theory, the way that the original system would work was that you would have 256 of these pages of RAM, and you could, you know, mix and match however you wanted. But that system did not get implemented, and so we only got the 3. And there was a guy, Wes Brzezowski, who wrote a really, really cool article where he figured out all of this stuff. And his article series was called "The Case of the Missing 253," meaning those other 253 pages. So there's a little bit of the code in the ROM to handle this stuff, but it's not complete. However, people like Larkin figured out that you could build, let's say, a 256K RAM board, and then you could map those RAM chips into the dock slot. And so you just, you know, swap them out. And folks did figure out how to use that to do the kind of stuff that you're talking about, Jay. Like, there was a guy who was part of the Toronto Sinclair users group who wrote a database program that stored data on the Larkin RAM disk in different, you know, RAM chips. I don't know exactly how that worked, but this is a thing that's on the radar. Ricardo and I were talking about it, and he was explaining to me how to do it, but I don't quite grasp it yet. But yes, long story short, the TLDR version, yes, eventually you'll be able to get some more RAM, but it's going to have to be swapped out in these 8K chunks. That's how that works.
So I'm gonna throw an idea at you, and you can tell me if it's been done before or if it's something new. So I was thinking about, paging in RAM and stuff, and I was thinking, so the the Z80 can only access 64K,
Mhm.
but and most of the paging that I've seen, it's always been fixed page sizes, right? So I
Mhm.
don't know if has there anybody figured out a way to do like variable page sizes or anything, or not?
Well, when you say a variable page size, like
Like maybe instead of 8K, do 8K on this one program, but on another program you can use 24K and bank that in and bank that out, kind of thing. Um,
I don't see why
or
not. I mean, so
or
you're
it's
not.
software driven versus well, it's partially software driven, partially hardware driven, but the idea is within a program you can put in some codes, and then that will go to a chip, and then that chip will decode it into the address bus that gives you the extra the RAM, the
Yeah,
extra memory addresses.
yeah, yeah. So, um, in theory, here's a thing that you could do is, um, you could um load a program into the home bank and load data into an array, uh and then figure out exactly where that array lives in the home bank of memory, right? And copy that data in chunks to I shouldn't use the word chunk. Copy that data in packets to chunk 3, which is the one that has to stay active all the time. That's where your display is. Swap out, say, chunk 6, which is high up. Okay. So you could copy stuff from the home chunk 6 into a place that's going to be, safe. Bring in another chunk 6 from somewhere else and then copy it up into there. So you would be able to swap RAM chunks and move data into different places. And then you'd be able to work in theory with a large data set, but there'd be some work to accomplish that. So
Anyhow, that was just some ideas that I was thinking
yeah,
about.
yeah, and there's a bunch of articles about that. Let me think about this. What is the best way to search for that? Let me just do a quick search.
Start reading some of William Pedersen's articles.
Yeah, I was thinking so what do you recommend, Paul?
Pedersen's articles can get into the technical side pretty good.
Uh-huh. That's true.
I would start also perusing some of the Sinclair news because they got into technical.
Yeah.
It was a technical brief version of a supplement publication from those folks. Something like Tech Reports.
Okay. I don't think I've seen that, but okay.
I may have a folder somewhere with that in it.
So Jay, actually one of the people that might be helpful is this article by Ray Kingsley, which I'm going to put in the chat here. Where did my chat window go? Okay. And this is a pretty decent article that talks about how to do bank switching, how to move things from one one page to another, or bank, as I think they call them banks here. So yeah, start with Ray's article, which was in Sinclair News. And do okay, and then his article is tagged for bank switching, and there's a whole bunch. I'm going to put this. I'm just going to save you a step and put this in the chat as well. These are all the articles that are tagged for bank switching. I think it includes. Nope. Okay, it doesn't include the 1,000 articles on the bank switching. But as Paul was saying, Bill Pedersen wrote some stuff about that, and they're in that list as well.
He had a working 256 board at the 87 show.
Did he really? Okay.
Yes.
Did he demonstrate, was he able to demonstrate how that worked?
Yeah, he was there with it.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. So, but yeah, one of the other things you'll find, Jay, is some schematics. I think this very first, that second link that says bank switching schematics, that's a Bill Pedersen
PED
article. Yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff, but it's all derived by looking at the hardware and looking at the software and trying to figure out how the thing was supposed to work, and then a little bit of as you a little bit by the technical manual that you have.
Yeah, that's where I saw some of it. So
yeah, so it'll keep you busy.
Yep.
Okay, David, I got to pull an Adam here.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ryan.
You're about out of time.
Ryan, before you go, just let Carl know that I have some ZX81s, both assembled and unassembled, if he wants any of those. And maybe I could trade get a working 2068 for some of the ZX81s.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember if he has extra 2068s.
No, I have one that's broken. I can send him, and maybe he can fix it. Maybe it'll be parts.
Well, I gave him one for parts to fix mine with, but he wound up fixing both of them. So that's how it goes. So
yes.
he'll probably be able to fix that one.
Well, that'd be cool.
Here we are volunteering Carl and his copious free time.
I'll put one up for sale next meeting.
Oh, good. All right, cool. Speaking of which, let me just double check the calendar here. Let's see. When is the next first Monday? Soon. Oh, not that soon. It's May 6th. Wow. Okay. All right. So our next meeting is Monday, May 6th. That's one of the evening meetings. So it's 9 p.m. Eastern, whatever time. Set your clocks. Hopefully you set them to the right time zone. And I suspect Carl will be with us, so we can prod Carl about 2068 repairs. Jay, what happened to your computer? I hesitate to ask.
Okay, so I didn't have this big ventilation thing for my soldering stuff, but so I was just breathing in the fumes probably. But anyhow, I was just learning to solder. And sometimes I was cleaning the tip with the little sponge thing, and then sticking it into the little ball thingy, whatever you call that. And then I did some soldering, and the solder jumped a couple times, right? And one time it jumped. The space between the keys and the keyboard is very, very small, right?
Yeah.
But some solder jumped, and I looked all over for it. I couldn't find it anywhere on the keyboard or the computer or anything. but apparently it landed between the 8 key and the the top of the computer. And because the next time I turned it on, the 8 key wouldn't work. So I'm guessing some solder must have went through there, which is like just about impossible, right? But
Yeah. Okay.
and
You
then
you do
and then
realize the computers run on smoke, because when it comes out, it quits working.
Yes, the magic smoke. Yes.
yeah, something like that, right? So that's basically what happened.
Okay. Okay. That sounds not too difficult to fix relative to, other problems that we have managed to destroy our 2068s with. That sounds not too terrible.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't really like pull the keys out without like pulling that whole like tin thing off
Yeah,
the keys,
you
and I
you
don't know
can
if you
do
can
that.
ever get that back on.
You
Really.
can get it off and you can get it back on. You have to use a little flat, uh like a spatula, right? or
Mhm.
or a plastic paint scraper, right? And just slide it in there very gently. In the phone fixing world, they call it a spudger. So just slide it in there, and there's about 4 pieces of double-sided sticky tape that are holding that thing down in each of the one in each of the corners. And once you pry it up a little bit and go slow, you'll get it off. um you can just put it back down with some more double-sided sticky tape. If you want to clean off all the adhesive and put new tape on various places, you can do that. Once you get it off, the keyboard's easy to get out. There's only 4 or 5 screws, and then the keyboard mechanism itself can be disassembled. So there's a plastic, it's like a little plastic case, and you take the screws off of that, and there's a circuit board, there's a rubbery bit with little domes, right? And then all the keys are free floating. I'm warning you now. All the keys are free
Take a
floating.
picture before you take it apart.
Yes.
Yeah, to get the keys back in the right place. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. It's not terrible. And you can get that thing to stick back down reasonably. And if not, there's that guy in Germany who has, new, a brand new one for an obscene amount of money, like 23 euros or something. I don't know.
Oh, the keyboard,
No, just that
the
overlay.
top cover.
Just that overlay. Yeah.
Oh, just the overlay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you go on eBay and search for, 2068 overlay or something like that, you will find it. I'm just doing a quick check to make sure he's still selling them. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. It's $33 for the silver one, or $32 for the black one. So if you want one that says PAL, you can get that. Or if you want the, here, I'll show you I'll put this on the screen. There we go. Share screen. Yeah, here's this reproduction.
Oh,
yeah.
that's interesting.
I don't know how much the shipping is. Oh, not bad. About $6.
Mhm.
All right, so you know what? $40 for that. That's not, in my opinion, that's not terrible. Considering that you have to invest a fair amount of money to get these things made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So you could get a brand new one.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Okay. On that note, it's been real. I hope to see y'all this Monday in however many weeks it is, 2-ish weeks or so. Mark. Yes. Who asked about the Vega Plus? There's 2 links. All right. So if you had a question, I think it was Greg. Is Greg still? Yeah, Greg. Greg, check the chat. But I will put these links in the notes when I post it to YouTube. So everything that was interesting in the chat, I'll make sure it ends up in the notes. And on that note, go out and enjoy some sun. I can see the sun shining behind Rich's outside of Rich's window, so I know Rich can have some sun too up in Canada. See y'all later, guys.
All right,
Adios.
take care. Bye.